Yeah, ready whenever you want.
All right, we're ready. So it is now 3:01 PM, and I'd like to call the meeting of the Budget Committee in order.
You're the clerk.
Representative Coca, can you please take a roll call?
All right. Mr. Vice Chairman,
Present.
Mr. Chairman.
He's on Zoom, so we have
He
to.
can't be on there until we vote him on.
uh, RB Bolia, she's not here, so Chairman Bean,
President.
Travis O'Hare,
Present.
and Rep Hewitt,
Is not here.
and Matt Coker here.
So we have a quorum. Mr. Coca, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have Chairman Bogert on Zoom. Would somebody like to make a motion to allow?
I'll make that motion
Second.
to allow Chairman Bogert on Zoom. You get the second?
Yeah.
All in favor? Oh, we got a roll call.
No, not please. Oh. So you can do it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Welcome, Chairman Bogert. You are permitted. So first up, we have the county attorney. You want to do kind of like what we did last year, we'll go through this line by line.
It's up to you. I'm happy to do a quick, just a highlight of where I think the key changes are, and then if you
And then
want
we
to
can
go
discuss it line by
and
line.
you can go through line by line.
Perfect.
All right, so thank you for hearing these today, gentlemen. As you can see, my bottom line budget that I'm requesting is the $1,255,025. That represents a 5% increase over last year's budget. I want to talk about a few of the changes between what the commissioners recommended and what I'm asking you to do today. There's just a handful of changes. The first is under part-time wages. The commissioners had recommended 45,500. I'm asking you to increase that to 52,273. The reason for that involves I'm hiring a new full-time attorney starting in May. It's going to fill one of my vacant positions. So I currently have a vacancy for a full-time attorney. The woman I'm hiring is going to start in May when she graduates from law school. But between now and then, she has agreed to work for me as an intern 24 hours a week as an intern between now and May. She's at the UNH Law School. She's one of their what's called Webster Scholars, who are their advanced law students who are really cream of the crop. So she's agreed to come work for us full-time starting in May. I agreed to, she asked me if we could pay her a small stipend during the time she's working for us as an intern. And she asked for $400 a week as a stipend for that 24 hours a week she's going to be doing as an internship for us. And I thought that was a reasonable request, especially given that we're going to be hiring her as a full-time attorney starting in May. And given the fact that because I have that open vacancy, it actually won't increase the amount I'm having to actually pay out for wages. So that comes up to $6,800. I calculated it for the 17 weeks that she would be an intern for us at $400 a week. I told her that I would do that. Obviously, it was subject to your approval. So she has been, it's a promise that I made to her, but with the understanding, I told her that it had to be approved by you all. So that's why on line ending in 51200, it's gone from 45,500 up to that 52,273. So that's what that represents. The other changes, we recently did the open enrollment for health insurance. And so some of our health insurance numbers have changed. Some have gone up, some have gone down. You can see the health opt-off went from 13,000 up to 16,000. That's because we're going to have another employee apparently who's not going to take the health insurance. But our health insurance itself went down from the 153 we thought it was going to be down to 150. And our dental insurance went down from 4,089 to 3,505.
Good question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Were we given a sheet with new numbers on it?
No.
No,
Oh,
no, and these sheets are gonna change every meeting.
I
So they're,
apologize. These are the ones that were outside on the
Oh,
table and I
oh, sorry.
thought we had them, the public
I was
ones
going
on
off
the
the
table.
spreadsheet we have.
well, you can just change the numbers on your sheet.
I just wanted to see
All right.
what he's talking about too.
I apologize. I thought you had these numbers.
Yeah, I'll take.
Yeah, I got them.
So
Sorry
my
about that.
apologies. So we're on the first page, the very first page. And if you look on that far left column, there are four that have that pink highlighting or I guess that's orange. Those are the four that I was just talking about. That where there's a change between what the commissioner's recommended budget has and what we're asking for today. And if there's any questions at any point, please feel free to interrupt me. But,
You know, can I ask you something about
Yeah.
the part-time?
yes,
It seems like last year we talked about you hiring another full-time person. Did you do that?
yes,
So you already did that and now we're getting another one?
no, there's no, I'm not adding any staff this year, just to make that perfectly clear. I have a vacancy right now. There's a full-time attorney who left,
Early in the year.
yeah, he left partway through the year last year. So I've had a vacancy for some time now, as one full-time attorney that I've been down. And I've hired someone to fill that spot, but she can't start until May. And she's going to be the intern that I'm paying for out of that part-time. So I've not added any staff positions this year. So, no,
But you lost one that you didn't have to pay most of the year.
that's correct, which is
So-
why,
Can we take the full-time, some of the full-time
That's what I
money,
was
or
gonna
is it
ask.
already
Would
down?
there be money in the full-time line if they're not being hired till April?
If you
No,
take,
because the full-time line is already planned that this new attorney is gonna start May 15th.
we already took that
There's
into account.
only
Oh.
enough money for her to start May 15th in the full-time line.
Okay,
We
But
knocked
while
down
she's
my,
working part-time,
Yeah.
we just, for nothing, essentially, want to give her a stipend because she's
Right.
acting as a full lawyer.
so my budget already took into account that I have a vacancy that's not gonna be filled until May 1st. So my full-time would have been higher if we had
okay, that answers my question.
funded that for the whole year. That's already been
Approximately how much higher would it have been? Just out of curiosity.
half of a year for a full-time attorney is probably, they're making about what? 80 grand a year now,
So 40 grand.
maybe about 40 grand plus or minus.
So we had,
I think, what, do you know, Deb?
It'll take. a minute.
Sorry.
Yeah. Who has this on? Yeah, well, you're asking. for-
so we had the 6,800, it's actually a lot cheaper than.
Oh, it's way cheaper,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, she's gonna make more than $400 a week.
Yes, yes, she's a full-time employee. she'll be
Plus
paid.
benefits, taxes, all of
Right,
that.
I'm not paying her benefits on this, it's just a straight stipend, $400 a week as like a,
The
Yeah, it's
benefits is expensive. How do we,
do you have the payroll tax
Holger
impact
wants to
of
say
adding
something.
that?
You can
Yeah,
just speak up,
it's so
Kenny.
minor, I
Yeah,
was
minimal, okay.
suggesting that.
Representative Bogert,
oh, you have a question?
do you have any questions or anything? I'm just trying to make sure you're.
Yes, they mentioned there was four highlighted areas in there and I only see three. What was the fourth one? Was that just the full-time wages?
Part-time wages, Representative, part-time wages went from 45,500 up to 52,273.
Do you want me to read them off to you real quick, the four cells?
Yeah, I got the one cell said the committee recommendation was 45.5 and we're saying it's now 52.5.
Yes.
73.
Yeah,
52,273.
then the health off is 16,055.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I thought.
One
you
more
meant-
time, I'm sorry.
Yep, health off 16,055. Health insurance, 150,616. And then dental insurance, 3,505.
Okay,
And those are the only changes that I'm requesting from the commissioner's recommended budget. And so going through the rest of the commissioner's recommended budget, I'll talk about a few places where there's been some changes. You can see that my data storage numbers have gone up a bit. We had only requested $900 last year in data storage. It's now up to 2,796. That reflects a new system that I'm trying to put into place for a cloud storage-based system for sharing information with police departments and defense lawyers. As we've gone paperless in the past few years, we're continuing to sort of struggle with how you manage all of this data that we get in all of our cases. And in particular, the data that we have the most difficulty dealing with are video files. Every time an arrest is made, there are police departments that use body cams particularly. Those body cam videos get saved by the police department and then they send them over to us. And we then have to send those out to defense lawyers. It requires a huge amount of time and effort to take those large data files and put them on either disks or thumb drives. The downloading time alone takes my staff a long, long time. We want to establish a sort of cloud-based file sharing system that is CJIS compliant, that allows us to basically give permission to defense lawyers to simply go onto the cloud-based system and access these sorts of files so that we're not having to copy them and then send them out.
So I'm looking back to your 2021 actuals, and you were at 2469 back in 2021.
Yeah, that was
dropped significantly for 3 years, and now we're back up to close to the same number. What was the reason for that?
I think back in 21, we had different things in data storage that are not there now, and I don't remember what. Sometimes they move things from different lines, and so we didn't have a system like this in place back in 2021, and I'm thinking that there was something else that we were billing to that line back then that we're not billing there now, and I don't know if there's any way.
We'll look it up.
I'm curious, I saw that big number and then I see it
Yes.
dropping significantly, and now we're close to that number.
2000.
Yeah, so.
Cold storage backup
Worthless cold storage.
for mainstay.
And I'll tell you that yeah, I don't know what that means. Yes, Representative.
Just a quick question. How many hours do you think you guys spend dealing with that cloud storage
Oh.
issue?
God, tons. I mean, my.
Enough that it's worth the 1,800?
I think so.
I just want-
I think it's worth the 1,800, not only the amount of time that we spend doing it, we'll save. I buy more of those thumb drives than you can imagine. We go through multiple thumb drives every day. We're buying more and more, and they're like 20, 30 bucks a pop we're spending on thumb drives. I think they're that much now. I can't remember how much you paid for thumb drives. Maybe they're a little less, but we'll save money on that. We'll save money on discs. We'll save money on time. Yeah, it's a huge thing.
Put in there because not only does it save time for the county attorney, but our backup system was so full from all of his data that our system stopped backing up the whole rest of the county. We had no backup.
Right,
So this is necessary.
right. We've had.
We need to move them to their own solution so the whole rest of the county can function.
We were basically filling up the entire server
Yes.
system for the county with our data. So part of the other thing in there, that cloud-based data, that $900, that pays for a set of cold storage servers, offsite servers that we're using for our older case files. So what we're also doing is we're migrating our older case files into this a cloud-based storage system where we're able to maintain those there, get them off of our primary county servers and free up some space there. The idea is that they're putting cold storage electronically, and if we need them, we can pull them back out. There's a small fee. It's pennies per file, I think, to pull them back out of cold storage and put them back in. So that they charge us like $75 a month, basically, to do that. And it's a huge amount of data that we can just stick in this cold storage where we don't access it very often.
So it appeared that it was higher back in 2021
Yes,
because there was a project. So is it possible that it was actually a project it says cold storage backup project.
yeah,
So it appears that it was a project to bring in a lot of data at one time.
maybe to set up that.
Yes, I
as
think
your
that, oh, that's
iPad.
exactly what it was,
Okay.
yes. When we set up this, and now I do remember, that cloud-based storage system I'm talking about for our old files, where they're charging us that $12, I'm sorry, $75 a month. There was a one-time setup fee for that, which was like $2,000. And they basically charged us $2,000 as a one-time setup fee. And then they said, and then it's gonna be $75 a month going forward. So that's what that big number was. I remember that now. Other changes, there's a small increase in my software support line. It's going from 6,000 up to 9,900. That's because we're going back to using Westlaw for our legal research. A couple of years ago, I tried as an experiment to switch to the free legal research program that this bar provides us. As members of the bar, they provide us with a free legal research program that some lawyers use, and I've heard mixed things about it. We tried as an experiment to use that. My lawyers hate it. My lawyers are telling me they can't find the cases they want. They can't find the research they need. They begged me to please go back to Westlaw. So that has gone, you can see it used to be higher, that number, and it went down because I got rid of Westlaw. I need to bring back Westlaw. So that's what that $3,000 represents. Other changes, I'm asking for an increase in my line for witnesses and legal experts. You know, every case, every time we do a trial and we have to bring in witnesses from out of state, I have to pay for hotel rooms. I have to pay for airline tickets. We just did a trial this week where a lab analyst who tested the drugs on this case we did no longer works for the state. She now lives in Georgia. And we had to fly her up here. We needed her for this trial, so we had to fly her up here. And we had to pay for the plane tickets. Luckily, we didn't have to get a hotel because she agreed to stay with her parents. But it's one of these expenses that it's very hard to predict how much it's going to be on any given year. This would also pay for expert witnesses, which these things come up fairly frequently. We might need an expert witness on a domestic violence case to come in and testify about how domestic violence cycle works and why victims don't come forward right away. This also helps cover when we need expert psychiatric witnesses to testify about whether someone is competent for trial or not. And as always, in every case, when we want to use an expert, we're always, if there's not enough money in that pot, we're always going to be asking ourselves, oh, do we have enough money for this? Can we afford to do this? Can we not afford to do that? And I think we should have a big enough pool of money there that we can say, yes, we need an expert witness. Let's get an expert witness. It'll help us win this case.
Yeah, you don't want to lose the case.
You don't want to lose the case because we're being penny wise and pound foolish. And, you know, to hire an expert just to do a psychiatric evaluation can run you a couple $1,000s right there. So we are very frugal on this number. I mean, if we were going crazy with experts, you know, you would see a much, much bigger number there. And you can see this year we're projected to spend $12,000 out of that line. Back in 2022, you see we spent $20,000 out of that line. It goes up and down. You never know how many trials we're going to do and how many experts we're going to need. But I'm asking for 15. I think that's a good compromise number. I think it's a number we can live with, and I'd ask you to support that. Other changes, books. I'm coming up a bit on books. I am finding that there are, we have sort of not been renewing certain books that we really need, and particularly some evidence manuals, and the RSAs, the criminal codes. I'm trying to make sure those are all updated. I'm trying to make sure that all my attorneys have the evidence manuals, all my attorneys have the criminal codes up to date. And that just costs more than the $800. I need $2,000 for that. New equipment, I'm not asking really for anything this year, except I need one more chair for one of my attorneys. We've been sort of going through and trying to replace office equipment slowly. We replaced some desks this year. We replaced a few chairs this year. I need to get one more new chair for an attorney. That's $300. By the way, I had some, this past year, I was able to buy new chairs for my folks, and I actually let them buy their own. I let them order them themselves. I said, look, you got a couple $100s in the budget, go find yourself a chair you'd like. They all went online, they shopped around, they found the chair that they really want. They were really super happy to to be able to sort of pick the one they really liked. And it was very little money and it made them very happy. So, those things make a big difference with, morale. So those are the key changes I have. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I think this is a pretty frugal budget. I'm not asking 5% in today's inflationary, environment is a very reasonable ask. And most of that increase is actually just natural wage growth.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
question. With the advent of, the RSAs concerning the books and stuff,
Yes.
as the RSAs are online and they're as fluid as water going through a spigot, is it advisable to buy a book that's going to be outdated by the time you receive the book and just use online from the state of New York for RSAs?
We get the statute books every year. It's just more convenient, I'll be honest with you. They are online. You can jump online and you can grab the RSAs that you need on the website. They're on the state website, they're on various websites. But it's very convenient for my folks to have, they produce an individual book that has all the different statutes that a criminal prosecutor particularly needs. So it not only has the criminal code in it, it has the criminal rules of procedure statutes. It has the drug statutes, which are down in the 300s. It sort of picks out the statutes that we particularly need on any given moment. And so my lawyers like to have those books. They carry them around with them. So when a legal question comes up, they don't have to pull up their computer, find where it is online. Could we do it online? Absolutely. It's easier for my attorneys on the fly to have the books. It's a couple $1,000s and I think it's reasonable. The evidence manuals also, the rules of evidence are available online, but the evidence manuals that I actually purchased not only have the rules of evidence in them, they have some of the case law interpreting those rules integrated into the books. And so those are more effective than having to jump online and look up those rules. If you watch lawyers at trial, almost always lawyers who come into court to do a trial will have their evidence manual with them on the table. And they'll usually have that RSA book with them on the table because just on the fly, you sometimes need it. So I appreciate what you're saying. We try to do things on the cheap when we can, and we try to do things online when we can, but those paper books are helpful. And yeah, they do change every year, but we get new ones every year. That's why it's $2,000 a year, because you're replacing all those manuals every year because the law keeps changing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
anybody else have any questions?
Well, losing the attorney last year, I mean, are you having any retention problems?
No, we're not, retention's good overall. Most of my attorneys have been there many years. So my deputy county attorney has been there now, I want to say 7 years. He's been there longer than I have, so 7 or 8 years. I have another attorney who's been there 5 years. I have another attorney who's been there about 5 years. So no, my retention is good. I have this one position that I keep turning over for some reason. I hired someone, it didn't work out. I hired someone else, it didn't work out. So I have a good core of employees who are sticking around. I have this one position that keeps flipping.
Yeah.
But having that open position is a challenge. It means our caseloads are on the high side right now per lawyer. And so we're very eager to try to get somebody in there as soon as we can. This was a very, very busy year. I didn't bring the chart with me, but this year I think is going to be close to a record year for the number of cases filed in Superior Court. It was over 700 this year. Now, if you remember the numbers, we had a peak year back in about 2019, I think, where it was up around 700, and then COVID hit, and the numbers all came down, and we're back up to the 700s, which is close to record for the number of cases filed in Superior Court.
So I'm looking through these numbers. I mean,
I beg your pardon?
I'm looking through the numbers right now. I mean, there's a few, like telecommunications went up $150. That's expected in today's day and age. I'm just trying to see.
Yeah, I mean,
we can.
I understand your position. I know you guys,
Yeah.
I know how this, I don't make it sound good, but I know that like there's always that thought, there must be somewhere in here I can find something to trim.
I'm personally
it's
having a
pretty
hard
lean.
time.
It's pretty lean. There's not a lot of room in here to trim. I haven't asked for a lot of fat.
So the only question, I might have just missed this, so the 52,273 for the part-time.
Yep.
You said it was 6,800 for the intern.
For the intern, the remainder of that is my investigator. I have a
What was the original number you requested?
45.5 and you're right, as I sit here and look at the math.
Yeah. the
That
math
doesn't
number.
add up to 6,800, and I'm not sure why, Deb, when you redid
It's-
this, it went from 45.5 to 52,273.
It'd be 53. It's not very
It's a
different.
funny number, so I don't know why exactly that happened. Maybe you came up, maybe you
It'd be
read.
53,000 if you add,
Even,
if you added 6,800
I
even.
want to find it because I just want to be able to answer.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the extra couple $100 came from, I'll be honest, but
6,800.
Representative Bogert, you have any further questions or comments?
No, I don't at this time.
I mean, the only thing I think we as a committee can deliberate on would be any of the additional, the new stuff, which the cloud storage is clearly needed.
I think it's,
And the other thing is the Westlaw subscriptions. That's the only other new thing, really.
So, I mean, knowing attorneys and speaking with attorneys personally, I think Westlaw is a good asset to use. Up to me, I personally think it's needed, but that's just my personal opinion.
Someone else's thoughts?
I mean, some of the convenience things, I mean, it's not a lot of, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money and that makes the job like burnout, especially if you're having a high caseload is a factor. And if we can do something to mitigate that for losing one of the more experienced attorneys would be pretty bad.
Well, I agree with
Exactly.
Representative Bogert as far as you can go online and find this stuff. But he reiterated very well that they kind of, if you ever go to a courtroom, you do see the lawyers with their books handy, right? You don't see them sitting there with a laptop going, well, let me look this law up because it's time consuming. They know, they know the book, they know what page to go to for what they're looking for. So do I like to save money? Yeah, but
I don't know if that's.
I personally think it's a necessity.
and I can tell you, there's a few places in here that I've already trimmed some money out from what we had last year. Office supplies, I dropped a little bit because I think with the increase in cloud storage and we're getting better at the paperless stuff, I'm hoping that we can save about $500 off of office supplies. That's gonna be, that's gonna be cutting it close. I already cut a little bit out of professional development. That's the money we spend on sending attorneys to training programs. I saw just that we hadn't been spending as much as we've been asking for, so that one I dropped from 1,200 to 1,000. So where there were places I could drop things, I did. I didn't just leave things at the same number as last year because that was the number last year. And telecommunications actually came down. We dropped that from 1,200 we budgeted last year. I dropped that to 1,000 because we didn't spend it. And I thought, well, all right, we can save a little tiny bit there. So.
I don't see anything that we can. What about you, Representative Bean? You see anything that we can? I
think he did most of our job.
I think you did an excellent job, I'll be honest.
I tried.
Um,
The medical examiner line's always a crapshoot. As you know, the amount that we spend on that is not set by us.
So you spent 21,000, well, we had budgeted 21,000 last year. What was the actual?
18,000.
Oh, what?
Or
Budget
22,000.
18,000,
Oh,
projected
okay.
21,000.
We're actually overspent that line this year.
It is.
Okay.
That goes up and down. And it all depends on how many people die and need autopsies, which I can never predict. But I overspent that line this past year.
Yeah,
I've been lucky and I've been under budget every year I've been in this position, but it's because I try not to overspend. And also there's often vacancies here and there. And that allows me in these situations where one line goes a little tiny bit over, do something else will be under.
so I mean, personally, for me, I think we leave this as it is.
I would appreciate that.
It looks to me like most of the increases are things that are out of our hands.
That is correct.
The health insurance, we've got no control over that, payroll taxes, retirement. You know, we got no control over most of this 5%.
That's right.
If we could cut a little bit off of the journals and a little bit off of the legal experts, you're talking
Pennies.
pennies.
And
Yeah, I mean, the biggest percentages that went up was. This is health opt-out, which we don't have control over. Longevity is 33% up, which we have no control over.
full-time wages went up.
Yeah.
We don't control that really.
Well, it's 4%. I was looking at bigger percentages, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
211%, which is the data storage, which we agree that they need that new cloud storage. So really is not much.
Nothing we can do.
50% increase was witness and legal experts, but
But that could have a huge impact on, I mean, that's a community impact thing
It is.
there, because if we lose 1K, I mean, that's that.
Exactly.
and then books and journals, which we talked about, was 150% increase. But
Yeah, I think we should. I think, yeah, I think that's a good idea.
do we accept it department by department? I can't remember how we did.
I would do it by department.
Yeah, you can, yes, that would make sense. Just-
Mr. Chairman,
Have to adjust it, make sure whoever makes the motion to the new numbers with the part-time wages and stuff.
just the correct numbers are up here.
You have the 1,255, 1,255, 025, right?
Oh, 25.
Yep, that is the number I have here.
Hold
So
on,
I'll make a
here,
motion.
hold on one second.
Pardon me?
So that was.
Is your cell adding up though? It might not be adding up, so the formula.
Dave?
Okay, so the first,
How are you, sir?
the change was
Good.
part-time wages. 52,270.
I know we said it should be.
It's, you still have the wage at 52.
52,273.
We're keeping it at that?
Yeah,
can you speak up on those four sets of numbers?
Yeah, we're doing that right now. So the part-time wages, new number is 52,273.
Okay, and
well-
out,
$16,055.
and
Health
then the
insurance.
health insurance,
$150,616.
still adding up.
and then dental,
Dental is $3,505.
You don't have new dental, that's why. 3,000. Oh, that's right.
So then the bottom line, then representative is 1,255,025.
Okay, Travis.
It works now? Oh, okay, that's weird. You just had to refresh the cell.
Yeah. All right. All right, so.
All right, so is there a motion
Want to
made?
make a motion?
Yeah, I will make a motion to accept the commissioner's recommendation, except for lines 51,200, the wages part-time, make that 52,273. And then line 51,500, the health opt-off, make that line 16,055. And then for line 52,100, the health insurance, make that line 150,616. And dental insurance, line 52,140, make that line 3,505.
Do we have a second?
I'll second
Hold
that.
on.
I was just gonna suggest that the motion would be helpful to just have the total. That's what.
So do
Okay.
we, but do we have to make a motion to change the budget that was presented to us? Since this
No.
budget, the commissioner's budget was presented with different numbers?
No, you're just acting on the commissioner's budget, making changes as you go.
Okay,
Okay, so we don't have to do
you
it.
just have to motion the bottom
Yeah,
line.
you just,
All right, so I'll just make a motion for to accept the county attorney budget of $1,255,025.
Second,
Any discussion? Guess we'll do a roll call.
All right.
I don't think you need to make a motion on each section as it is. We just do that at the end. And yeah, I don't think
we
you
should
have
do it
to
each
accept
section,
each
so,
section.
it's whatever you want.
so at least this is
Right, it
locked in.
doesn't matter.
I don't think we have to, but I mean, We already made the motion.
Because if you do it now, then you're locking yourself out of talking about the whole thing at the end when we do a general review, and I think it would be more advantageous just to hold off on making motions on individual departments.
Okay,
That's what I would advise.
so you withdraw your motion.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Thank you. All right, so, all right, it's 3:36.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
I have a quick question for the commissioner since
Yes.
it's here. We have a minute, right?
Oh, we have 20 something.
I
The
I
two-
didn't even attention.
Okay, for the two commissioners out here, do we have a game plan in mind for our elected officials that we don't fall like the 17 years behind and giving them a raise again? Like we did this past time, we had to give them a big 10% bump.
Well, we take on a year-by-year basis, we just.
Yeah.
Employees across the board have gotten bumped the last couple of years because of inflation, COVID, et cetera. We use some of our opportunities for that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure our elected officials don't fall behind and we have to do that big 10% jump.
Yeah,
again.
no, I don't
That
think
was
so,
rough.
but I
They
think,
they intentionally were held behind. It wasn't that
Yeah,
they
yeah.
just accidentally fell because nobody paid attention. Every other year, the delegation votes. So you will decide if you want to hold them steady or you want to give them increases.
I see where you're going with the representative. You know, rather than every 5 or 7 years have to give 10, 12, 15%. Every couple of years, take a look at it, if funds permit, and if it's deemed worthy, then you give up that.
I just want to make sure everyone's stable. Right, yeah.
I personally think that's a lot easier to do it in small increments.
So this is
Big-
less
yeah.
painful that way.
But it comes up automatically every 2 years. Every 2 years it comes before you automatically.
Oh, it does.
And there's a vote every 2
Okay.
years. So you can decide
I know
next,
that part.
next year it'll come before you. And then you can, if you want to do it, then that'd be the time to do it.
Thank you.
I just wanted to mention, just since you have time, a few things. One, this 2023 projection column, that is the actuals for 2000. It's not exactly final because we still have some invoices trickling in. There can be some adjustments, but for the most part, when you're wondering what did we spend in 2023, that's the number. And that's gonna keep changing every time you meet, those numbers will be a little different. The other note is the two collective bargaining agreements that were approved. Some of those numbers were not in the budget. So those have to be added. So as you're going through, I will show you where they are. I have them highlighted. They impact the nursing home and corrections. They're not huge because the biggest numbers were the wages were already in there.
Okay, I didn't know if the wages and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, the wages were already in there, so it's not anything terribly painful. And then the other things that changed are in every department from, I'm just gonna quickly move the yellow. Well, let's see if I can find this. They're all the benefits, basically.
Yep.
Health insurance numbers and dental insurance, because people have changed plans for the new year, which we didn't know when the commissioners had the budget. That's really all. I just wanted to bring those to your attention, and I'm keeping track on here of special color coordinated plan to keep track of when you make changes, what those changes are.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
So I think we should
Pleasure.
take
Thank
a
you.
10, 15-minute break at least. The registrar of deeds won't be here to 4, so we have some time to go.
Yeah, we can try to get her here early, just so you can
Yeah, I'll save
Yeah,
time.
we
can.
get things, keep moving.
Oh,
When you're ready, I can try to fill in some of your space,
Good job.
because there's general administration stuff that will affect everything. I mean, you can take a break, if you- whatever, but
Yeah, okay.
We'll do 5-minute
Let's
recess.
do a 5-minute recess and then we'll.
3:45.
then I'll talk until you tell me to be quiet.
That's not an X.
All right, 3:45.
You go down to Representative Hewitt.
You have the big line.
Tuesday,
the Big line, that big.
about 1 inch of snow expected, so it's just,
Is that?
yeah, you be able to push that around the shovel.
All right, we are good to go again.
I'm surprised, is that ageism or what is that? So if Bill gets gas.
Oh, you need a gavel.
You hurt your hand. Yeah, that break my hand. Wait, it's on county property, isn't it?
Uh-oh, all right, if you want to talk about, this is one simple little line, but it's the biggest.
Which one is that?
The Department of Health and Human Services Nursing Home Care.
Toward the end of the general budget.
Yeah, 01-4441 is the department number. I don't know. the page number. Oh, there she is.
It's always there.
And this is the 12 monthly payments we make to the state of New Hampshire. They set the rate, the legislature. And we pay it. That's to take care of all of the citizens in the county who are qualified, determined to be eligible for nursing home level of care by the state of New Hampshire, but are not in our nursing. So they're at home receiving services, home health, whatever kind of other services, but the county is financially responsible. So we pay it and there's a cap set every year, or probably every other year, they set the cap. And this year, the budget, we don't know what our number will be. That number will change in July. So they're on a fiscal year, we're on a calendar year. We know our first 6 months, what the payment will be. And I projected a 3.5% increase for the second 6 months. And that's just based on past performance. Sometimes we've had a 2% increase, a 4% increase. So it really is an estimate, best guess of what it looks like it might be. They adjust based on the number of elderly citizens in our county, which they get that number from the census. So although it's the biggest number in the budget, it's not, there's not a lot you can do to.
Would love to know how they determine that number, like.
Legislation.
I have, yeah.
How they determine, like, is there financial qualifications that
I
they have
have
to do?
formulas, they send spreadsheets and show how they divvy it up amongst the counties. Based on their population, based on, I think it's 3 prior years of claims, they average that. There's a $5 million credit that's required to be applied to the counties, and they distribute that proportionally amongst us. Yeah, I have those spreadsheets that they send out once a year and say, here it is. But our ability to affect it is, we haven't figured out how to affect it yet.
There's nothing we can do about that. Zilch.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, the one thing we can do is help people stay at home and not get admitted to nursing homes. Because the one thing for sure is it costs us a lot more money to have someone in a nursing home than to provide them care at home. So keeping Meals on Wheels, things like that, that help people stay at home longer, it's money you have to pay now, but it saves a lot on this number.
It's really no discussion to even be had on it in my view, because we have no say.
If anything, we impact the capital, not here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You have to
Discuss it.
be aware of it, and it's the big number, so you don't want to just skip over it.
Anybody have anything to say in regards to that? Right, so we will welcome the registrar of deeds then to give us our presentation.
Idea. So, good afternoon, gentlemen. Are we starting with revenues or with expenses or both?
Oh, I'm trying to find you right now.
Deeds is 4193. 4193 after finance.
Well, we need to go to the county attorney's revenue. But he only has grants in there, so.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it too.
I would say expense first and then revenue.
Yeah.
I think they're all on the expense page.
Oh, right above county. Okay, so it'd be line two, around 213, that's the total. Yeah, it should be second.
We found you.
Um. Yeah, but I have a different number from the original one, but there's nothing highlighted on here that changed. Did I just do math wrong somewhere?
451, 930.
Yeah, I got 491, 226, you have the,
I got 451, 936.
I must be doing
Yeah,
math wrong somewhere,
451,
I'll look through my budget, I'll keep doing that thing, sorry about that.
All right, I guess we'll start with the expenses.
Okay, so, wages, full-time line is, just 2 staff members. Part-time is one staff member at 10 hours a week. Elected official, that's, voted on number. I have nothing for overtime. The health off incentive is 11,150, and I'm not sure what that is, Deb.
That's people who, who don't need to take our health insurance. So they opt off of our health insurance entirely and we pay them a little bit. Or they can opt down to a less expensive health plan and we pay them a little bit. We pay them 75% of what they save from that.
So that's two of us, staff members that do that. Have the higher deductible. One staff member is eligible for the longevity award. Health insurance, that's a number provided by the admin office. Dental insurance is also from the admin office. Payroll tax, retirement, unemployment insurance, workman's comp insurance. That's all the administrative office's numbers. Telecommunications, we budgeted $130 a month. Next line item is our indexing internet services line. That's based on volume. The internet line is a contracted figure 22.2. The indexing line is based on volume, and that is based on 13,000 documents for this coming year, 2024, which is down 3,000 from last year. Data storage, that's our Iron Mountain. That's running about $85 a month, so it is up slightly, just because we were starting to get in the red on that number.
Why does it state City of Keene there?
That is our storage
That's
facility.
where it's stored. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
The next one is our plat book restoration. This would be the next 2 plat books that we did get an estimate for. This would be books, 11 and 12, meaning the phase 1 is complete. We did the first 10 books that we had a previous quote on. So now we're starting into the next phase. Microfilm, that's down 15,000 images over last year, so it's slightly under. Copier is 1,500 for the year, which represents $125 a month. And there is an offsetting entry in the revenue line for that. Same thing with our equipment rentals. That's the lease of all our computers and equipment in the office. And there is an offsetting revenue number for that as well. Liability insurance is from admin. Printing, the only thing I have printed now is my security envelopes, and we do that through the correctional industries down at the state prison. And that I budgeted $100. It was $113 this past year, but I think it's still a good number. Fees and subscriptions is Register of Deeds Association and PREA, that's a constant. And then we have Operating supplies down a little bit, 1,500. We're just not using, you know, materials like we used to. We're doing more things electronically. Traveling, I have $200. That's so I can attend New Hampshire Association of County meetings and educational symposiums that are usually held someplace within the state. Office supplies is $300. That covers our laser, optical, and plotter supplies for the large plan machine. And postage is down a little bit, $16.10. That factors in our average monthly postage costs, the meter rental quarterly, and supplies of about $250.
So why is this postage line up $510 from last year?
So
Otherwise,
The projection's lower than the budgeted, but the budget, they go down.
okay, okay, I'm looking at the wrong lines.
It is a good question though, do you know, why,
well,
why didn't we spend the money?
so we front the money and then the other departments pay us back, so money goes back into that line.
But is it due to be, no, it was just replenished, so it's not.
But I mean, was December's postage distributed to county attorney's office? Is that done?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so you're just spending less.
Can you quickly just explain again what that file and data restoration is?
Yeah, those are the large plat books, the map books. They're 24 by 36, and it's the restoration for those.
So they're like
What
20
books
grand
do
a
we
month.
have to do?
They have been, they're,
How many more books do we have to do?
well, there's 148 books, but I would not recommend that all 148 be restored. Right now, we've only done 10 books, and we did the first 8 were the books that were out of public access. So those have been restored so that public can access those. And now we're just working on the next 10 or 12 that are deemed in disrepair.
What would be the reason the public access is? Like, I don't even know what they are. So that's what I'm trying to understand.
So they're some of the oldest maps of the county, so subdivisions, surveys, that kind of thing. And over the years, they become torn, they become faded, the paper is brittle, they need to be deacidified. So in order to preserve them, we have to go through the restoration process.
I think it's just to back up that it's the Register of Deeds is responsible for maintaining these permanently, indefinitely, forever.
Oh, that's what I
And
was.
so, yeah, they are highly valuable, and it was decided, the reason I think Judy's talking about the first 10 that were done in phases. There's been talk about, well, there were these 10 that had to be taken out of public circulation, so the public could not access them because they were so deteriorated. So there was a discussion then about, are we gonna do them all at once, or we do a couple a year? I think it was a couple a year that have been done, and it just,
Right.
I think it makes sense to just plan on forever. 2 books are gonna need to be done. I mean, there's 148 books, we're on numbers 11 and 12 here.
Right.
So by the time we get all those 148 restored, the ones we just did are probably gonna be deteriorating again.
How old are those books?
Well, we go back to 1765.
These two here, these two that you're restoring now,
These 2 do not go back to 1765, but they go back to the 1800s.
Once every 200 years.
You won't have to worry about it.
Once in our lifetime.
So once they are restored, they're put into Mylar sheets that have a life of 500 years.
Wow.
So why don't they or do you guys digitize it?
So these plans, I would ultimately like to digitize them all, but they are glued into books that cannot be taken apart. So you have these oversized books, plans are glued to the pages, so there is no way to digitize them as we can regular document books.
So if you were to do like one for 20 23 that we just did, is that now digitized or do we still print them in books?
No, since 1983, plans are submitted to us on Mylars and they are digitized right up.
Trying to get them
Correct.
times.
Correct,
Want to go look at these books.
I know.
And I'm interested in them now.
right,
You
thank
should
you.
really go look
I might
at
come
it.
say hi.
Really cool.
Yes,
Take a look at
love to have visitors. Love to have visitors, except the hall right now. I know nothing compared to what's going on over here, but
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I'd like to ask a question about the microfilm line. Are we still doing microfilm or is that just something that keeps, because it looks like that number's been pretty close to consistent throughout the years and stuff. And I'm just curious, is that something for upkeep or is that something we're ongoingly using? I know we're using it, but are we looking at digitizing it or something like that in the future? Because I don't think we use microfilm anymore.
so the microfilm is our archival storage. That is what is placed in City of Keene in our Iron Mountain storage. So that is our backup. So if something happened to our digital files that are on our server become destroyed in the case of a natural disaster, the microfilm could be accessed and could be reproduced. The
so it's a
information.
backup.
But
So
that's
it is-
different than
So
the
it is
other,
backup.
so that's different than the other storage we keep at Keene?
No, that is one and the same.
So the microfilming is for us to buy the microfilm that we then store in Keene. I'm just confused about the microfilm.
Yes, so perhaps I confused that situation. So microfilming of the images is the 4225. The Iron Mountain storage is about $1,000 a month to store the microfilm that we have created.
Yeah, so we create the microfilm, that's the 4,225, and then we store it in Keene, that's the 1,020.
Correct.
Okay.
So if I may add on question, please.
Yes, of course.
Why do we need to microfilm it and not just digitize it and store and make backups on our digital so it's located in two different places?
Microfilm is the only known type of archival storage for the documents, meaning it can't be destroyed because of the type of file it is. Like anytime you save a digital file up to the cloud or whatever, it changes it. And it's just the only trusted manner of archival storage for the records.
Is there a statute that requires?
We have to have two forms of backup. So our digital backup, which is on our servers, is the first.
Okay.
And it has it again has the life expectancy that that we require for the archival storage.
What is the life expectancy?
I'm gonna get that for you.
For longer than humanity, probably.
That don't make any difference to me.
As a side note, here recently in the city of Laconia, we had to use the archives on some of them old books locating a road. It went back into the early 1800s when that road was owned by Meredith at one time. So some of those old books have been used recently as for us in the last 3 months. It's interesting.
What road was that?
Pickle Pond.
Pickerel Pond.
Okay. By her.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to take our road?
Yeah.
It's not a road.
Pickerel
It's-
Road. Pickerel Pond Road.
You can have that.
Wow.
You can take it.
Oh, actually, you can have it.
Something, I don't need that.
Yeah, so I'm thinking the microfilm is kind of just the way we've done stuff forever, so you do legally need a backup. Digital isn't always the best way to go. in my view.
Well, if we, I mean, at this point, like, I mean, talking about making a change would be something to look at in the future if we were kind of,
Definitely.
for today, I mean, for this budget, you know, it looks like it is what it is.
You'd have to find another
Yeah.
backup. We have, she's
Right, you
required.
can't have the same type of backup as your
Yeah, that's two different-
alternative.
Two different kinds, yes.
I have a question
I'm
still.
thinking if that's gotta be some kind of a law or something that tells us that. Not that I'm trying to disagree with doing it that way, but there must
Right.
be something dictating us to do that with our registry.
There There has to be two different forms of backup for the records. And that's the only thing I didn't copy and put in my book. Sorry. The
Yes.
specific information.
I'm sorry I'm harping on this, but it's the only line that I am looking at, that's the biggest line there, and it's the file and data again. Did we do the file and data restoration? Did we do 2 books this year?
We did.
And that was the 30,000, ended up being projected to be 30,000?
Correct.
Is the 2 books of $10,000 again, they're gonna be $10,000 more this year?
So yes, we, that first set of 10 were quoted back 10 years ago.
Okay.
And so now we're into the next phase and, you know, there's a lot of people using ARPA money to restore things and it's expensive and each book is different. The cost for each book depends on the kind of paper it was glued to, the glue, how difficult it is to get it off. You know, there's all different factors involved. So one of these books is quite costly so that it's a bigger book. Yeah. Book one. is-
Yeah, I just wanted to see what the 10,000 difference was, if we did only do, if we did do 2 books this year, or just, yeah, I just wanted to.
Right, book one is 23,000 and book 22 is 15,000, so that's based on the number of pages in the books and their estimate as far as what it will take to restore those plans.
Mr. Chair, one question, please.
Yes,
Question is on the new equipment line item. I noticed we don't have any request in for anything, and so that my curiosity is the computer systems and stuff that are incorporated you're currently using in good enough shape to continue being used? Or is there a plan somewhere in the near future to have any of them updated as Windows in them has brought some of the older computers out of compliance?
So the new equipment line that you were referring to was a one-time filing cabinet that I requested for the office to house the restored plat books. Because they come back in a different format than the books prior. So that was a one-time request that new equipment line was added. As far as the equipment that you were referring to, everything in the deeds office is leased through our vendor for the technologies. So it is constantly replaced as required as technology changes or, you know, if they break down. So that's in the lease figure for
Equipment rentals.
equipment rentals, correct?
Does that lease include like your computers and everything? Okay. just wanted to make
Everything.
Sure,
Everything with the exception of the photocopier.
so
make sure we have right.
the only thing I see here, in my personal view, that we could touch is maybe the postage line.
It's so minimal.
Drop that down to 1,200.
It's so immaterial.
I know it's like pennies, but
It's so immaterial.
it is immaterial, but it's at least a reduction,
So talking about $400.
$410.
I mean, that still gives it, look, that 869 projection for this year is correct, right? That's what,
Um,
860.
yes, so,
for 2020.
Sorry, I'm looking at the projection.
Yeah, that is through the end of this year.
Okay, so that's new, yeah, so 1,200 would still be over that.
Yeah. I know it's minuscule, but it's something.
I'm not opposed to it. I had so material, I don't care either.
So I recommend dropping that down to 1,200 even. What's everybody else think?
I'm not opposed to it. I'm okay with it.
That's not gonna
So
kill you, is
to
it?
me, it's not big.
All right, so that.
Any objections to that?
I don't have an injection.
Right, so we're gonna move that to 1,200. That gives us 451, 526. The bottom line.
Only thing I saw.
Representative Bogert, do you have any objections to that? I forgot about you over there.
No, I would have chimed in if I did.
Okay.
It looks like it is in line in the
Yeah, so-
previous couple of years, so
So the new bottom line would be 451, 526. No, we're not gonna put it up. That may just come down the bottom line. And if you'd like to go over the revenue really quick.
Certainly. So this, the revenue line was calculated back in August, so there were only 8-month averages, to go by at that point. However, that they pretty much fell in line with, our year-end averages. So we're requesting, so we're anticipating 960,000 under the real estate transfer tax. Equipment reimbursement, that is 22,716, that would include an offsetting entry for our equipment lease, which is on the expense line, and our copier lease, which is also on the expense line. L-chip fees were down significantly, so we're estimating it to be at 7,600 for next year. Miscellaneous income, which is bank interest, that was the only thing that went up over prior years. We did take in $1,500 in interest this year, but we're estimating 1,400 for next year.
Just out of curiosity, what's the chip fee?
Land Community Heritage Investment Program, it's a $25 fee the state of New Hampshire assesses on 4 types of documents, which is deeds, mortgages, discharges of mortgages, and plans. So out of that $25, we get 1%, so that's it.
And the equipment reimbursement, what is entailed in that? Who is reimbursing that?
Equipment reimbursement, so if you look down on the expense line, that's the lease for all our computers, all our office equipment.
But it
That's
comes
the
from
lease.
money you collect in your office. You're collecting revenue from customers.
Right,
Okay.
so, right, okay.
That's what I.
Thank you for
I think-
thinking.
Yeah, I'm trying,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
I didn't want to talk about the budget.
No.
Yeah. All right, thank you for articulating that. Yes, so there's a $2 service charge on each document we record. That surcharge goes into the special equipment fund, which that 22,716 comes out of that special equipment fund.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Show you something, just, well, you have 1 minute.
Yeah.
I need to show this. This was one of the slides from the original budget presentation, but it might make sense for you right now to think about of the total increase in the budget that you're looking at. I broke it down by department on here, just so you can get an idea of where are the increases in the budget. Well, there's 12% in this unanticipated expenditures, so you want to really pay attention to that. Corrections, 14%, so you want to really, so those are just showing you where there's significant increases.
Do we have that sheet?
I'll send it to you, to all of you.
Thank you.
In this department, though, it was only 1%.
Yeah, some
I
of
mean,
them are so small
That's
there.
incredible.
It is.
That's below inflation, the savings.
Yeah, the nursing.
Right, you
home is
ready?
54%, that's where the money is.
So we're going to go now with the sheriff's department.
You want? Thank you.
Thank
We get to put you in the hot seat.
That's all right, I'm always.
Wait, is this in the budget?
We gotta
It's just-
we gotta get one of those lights put on him when he's over there.
What?
Oh, my goodness.
I'm all good, thank you.
What we've been doing, we've just been going through based upon the,
Hey, one second.
yeah, we're looking for, we can go line by line. Oh, God.
I just wanna,
Oh,
Steven, there is a change on the sheet for the sheriff's department, there's only one. The dental insurance got changed to $1,169.
So you can go through this two ways, your choice. Go through line by line, or we can just go through the big changes and then we can just review it. It's basically what we've been doing, so we'll let you decide.
Let me decide.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm assuming we're gonna go through the revenue first, or are we going through
We
expenses
can
first?
go through expenses first.
Right, so expenses, wages full-time, that's a decrease of 57,270 due to a change in staff this past year. Wages full-time dispatch, it's a decrease of 42,800, which is also, due to a change in staffing. Both the full-time dispatching and full-time, deputy lines, they are fully staffed. We don't have any vacancies right now. Part-time wages, which is specific to part-time deputies. That's a decrease of 1,600, and that's due to the part-time employees working less. We just haven't had a need for them. The part-time dispatch line is decreased by $6,000 due to part-time employees also working less. Again, we're fully staffed, so we don't need them quite as much. Court staff, that's an increase of $82,930, and that's due to the increase of the state mandated pay raises based on the reimbursement rates. So we actually increased that line because the rates had increased this past year. Also, we continue to pay the $28.42 above the state reimbursement rates, and that's for employee retention and recruiting. Elected official, no anticipated raise. Outside details, no change in that. Wages, overtime, no changes. Wages grant, OT, that's going to be an increase of $8,000 due to the New Hampshire Highway Safety Grant that we've accepted this past year. It's going to cover till October 2024. So the reimbursement is going to be from the New Hampshire Highway Safety in the full amount, and it can be found in the increase of the revenue line as well. So it's a net zero. Dispatch overtime, no change in that. Health opt-off, it's a decrease of 3,500, and again, that's due to employees opting for insurance. Sick time incentive is a decrease of 6,000 due to the contractual obliviation of the benefits. Longevity award is decreased by 2,800. That's again due to a previous employee turnover. Dental insurance, yes.
A couple of lines back here. My numbers didn't match up for some reason. Health off incentive. I thought you said it was like 3,500 and my sheet says 6,000.
Let's see. Health opt-off, I had that at 15,000. Put it,
This is 24,500.
I'm talking about the change, the net change.
Yeah, my net change is 6,000.
6,000, yeah.
I thought you said the net change was 3,500. Did everybody else hear that?
okay, maybe I had a different number.
Well, so since we paused you real quick, can we jump up to the wages overtime dispatcher too?
Sure.
Just because the projected for this year is so high compared to what we budgeted and compared to what we're budgeting again.
Yep.
You're safe though? You feel safe with the 27?
I do.
Is there a reason? that
Most
it's so
of the
high?
year we had vacancies, and if you look at the dispatch wages full-time line, you'll see that was significant savings. So basically they're canceling each other out because we had the full-time dispatchers work more overtime to cover the open shifts where we had vacancies in the employment line.
Okay.
So being fully staffed now, I believe that the numbers that we currently have are a lot more solid. It will be more true, because we have predominantly all new employees, so.
Thank you.
But I don't think I got my answer to why that.
Yeah, which line is that? I'm sorry, I didn't,
It's for 51500. It's the health opt-off incentive.
Do 24/5 for that, Bill?
That number comes from you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
yeah, I think I had 15,000 as the original number, so.
15,792. I'm just talking about the number that you said was, the difference was 3,500. I thought you said I might be.
Yeah, no, so initially I had a decrease of 3,500 from last year.
And this year has a
Yeah, so I must
$6,000.
have had a different number.
So why is it that we're taking that up to 24/5 if it was requested at 15/7?
It wasn't requested at 15/7. What was spent in 2023 was 15/7. But now all of our employees have had open enrollment where they can choose their health insurance plan. And does that even make sense? That seems like a lot as I'm talking.
Cause even at budget, it was 18/5 budgeted and we're going up significant.
24.
Well, we're going up $6,000. Does that make sense?
If a significant amount of employees opted out of the healthcare, that would cause that.
How much is our opt-out per person again?
It varies a lot depending on the union or the sheriff's union. If they opt off a single person plan, it's $2,000. Opt off a two-person plan, it's 4,500, and opt off a family plan is 6,000.
So it could have been one.
In addition to that, the far more likely scenario is that a lot of, it looks like, I'm in the wrong department, but employees who opt down from the more expensive plan to the less expensive plan, since whatever they save the county, they get 75% of that savings.
Yeah, we just had open enrollment, so I don't even have, I don't know if I have the most up-to-date.
Right, that's what this number represents.
So the number on the paper here is correct, I believe. It's $6,000. That's the increase.
So the
Yeah.
actual.
So it's an increase?
It's an increase of 6,000.
The actual people who are opting off in 2024, no.
Okay.
There are 3 people who have the family plan who are opting off. That's $6,000 for each of those people. And then you have one with a 2-person, one with a single, and then you have another person who's doing an opt-down. So yeah, that makes sense.
Math goes up. Yeah. There's nothing he could do as far as that goes.
No, I just want to make sure the numbers are right.
Exactly.
Actually, the opt-off saves the county a ton of money, so when you look at what
Yes.
we're not paying out.
Exactly. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure the numbers are correct on the sheet here, that's all. 6,000, that's good. No problem for me, I'm good.
All right, you can continue on.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe the 24/5 is the correct number.
So back up. Okay, so like the health insurance. So I know the health insurance increased significantly. And again, that's part of the new employees taking the benefit. So that's increased significantly. And I don't have this sheet, so I know some of the numbers changed, I just don't have it.
The increase is 99,899.
That's because I assume because you're fully staffed and more are taking insurance.
Looks like you saved that up at the
Probably
top.
more family plans, I'm guessing.
Looks like you saved it up at the top on wages and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So then, is that okay to?
Yes.
Want me to continue? Okay, so the dental insurance is 1169, which again was an increase due to another person or two taking that benefit. Payroll tax. That's also an increase. Same with
Retirement has actually decreased.
And that's.
About 35.
Difficult is that?
35,000 or so.
Yeah, 35,215.
Okay. Unemployment insurance increased $29. Workers' comp decreased by $4. Line 53,400 bank services. I don't know if that's on there. I don't think we use that anymore. That's actually been discontinued. Telecommunication line, that's an increase of $4,559, which covers all the cell phone plans, the first light bill, the mobile data air cards, the NTIC and spots connection to state police, the fiber optic connections to the tower sites, which was a major part of the increase, which it was 22,836. Now that was in the budget. Some of that was in the budget. We anticipated being in the beginning of the budget cycle last year. We had anticipated on having the radio system up and running sometime between October and November. So we had a couple months that we were anticipating and paying, and it's a couple $1,000s a month. So there's a difference in that because the radio system, there was delays. So that hasn't been in operation. And then, so it's about $14,000 increase over the current copper lines that we're currently running for our radio system. So it is a significant increase. Cable services, there's a decrease of about $405. That's due to a new contract. Contracted services, there was a decrease of $9,200 due to the removal of the tower FTDA connections, which again is the copper lines that we're looking at. So telecommunications and contracted services, they were kind of, ultimately they were at one point, contracted services, what was what we used to pay the FTDA lines, but we moved into telecommunications because that's really what it is. So that's why you see a little bit of a difference in that. And so it was placed in a telecommunications line 53,410. And also we subtracted some of the monies out of that line due to a two-way Inc., which is our radio communications people that we contract with. We put some of that money into the communication equipment and repair and maintenance, which is line 54,352, which you'll see an increase as we continue down in that line. I think it was like 5,000. Support software, we have an increase of 19,628. That's due to an increase in the IMC service fees, which IMC is our records management, our dispatch CAD. We have a consolidation project that we're doing right now. We're saving the towns $23,000. So all the towns that are consolidating with us as a collective, we're saving them $23,038.56 in software costs. And they're also getting an additional $30,000 in new programming. So in essence, it's a $53,000 benefit to the local communities. So even though the county took kind of a hit, it's a benefit for that. And that's only for programming and access. That's not including the amount of time that it's going to save them from not rekeying data. So that was part of the IMC consolidation project that we have going on that was ARPA funded.
Quick question on that.
Yes.
So that consolidation to the county for the cost is savings for our taxpayers at the local town level, and it also will benefit our police and sheriffs to be able to communicate together and dispatch, like with the notings.
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly what it does. So if you can picture, it takes an officer about an hour every shift. And if you picture there's one officer per shift for 24 hours, that's 3 hours a day that's utilized for data import and data production that we already do, that they no longer have to do. So they can actually stay on the streets longer. And that's per officer, and that's only one officer. So you take a town that's got 3 or 4 officers working, that's significant.
And it's for all the towns?
It's only the towns that have opted to be part of that. So the towns that have opted to be part of this program, but not as a complete consolidation, they're only for what they call aware, which is like our calls will populate on their screen so they can see what we're doing in their towns or the communities around them, just like we can see what they're doing. And those 3 towns were Meredith, Laconia, and Guilford. So Laconia and Guilford, they dispatch 24/7 for themselves. So That's what they, that's a normal thing for towns that do that by themselves.
And no town
America's
chose
kind of
not to do
unknown.
it, sorry.
What's that?
No town chose not to join in.
Every other town is included, and that includes the town of Northfield as well. So Northfield is a contract town with us, and we bill them out at $44,000 a year. So, and they all pay for their own maintenance fees. So we're not paying for their maintenance fees. There's just some accessible parts of the software that are hosted now with us, and they get the savings because it's no longer on their servers. So we actually host the server here. They don't need a server. So that's other parts that we don't talk about, and I don't know how to forecast that. And I'm not an IT person, so I can't tell you how much, but what I can say is all the departments that go what we call IMC Live with us, they no longer have to have a server in their department that they're paying for. So I don't know what servers cost, but I know that they're fairly significant costs. So, and you got to replace them every 5 years or so. So if you look at how many towns we have and how many are doing this, it's a cost savings to them. So it goes far beyond just what I'm reporting in. And I'm sure I could probably get all that information for you at a different time when you need it. So software support also, so the IMC Central Square is $45,330 is what it costs for that. The Casper system, which is the body wire system, is $3,000. And then of course we have a backup network system, which is $960. And that's to back up all of our data. So if our server ever was to go down, we have another opportunity to gather that information. We no longer utilize photography and lab services. Special operations team, I've level funded that. The team has some things. Again, they're normal, and this is a regional team. We are the only department in the county, is the only place that it funds this team as a funding source. And we cover a majority of their the necessities. That would be pistol and ammo rifle, which is the bulk of it, which is $19,100. Annual dues, that's to the NHTOA, the NHTOA, the NTOA, and FirstNet, which FirstNet is their access to their like own mobile data terminal that they have in the command post. That's $1,300. Chemical munitions is $5,038, and then vehicle maintenance and upfit. So anything that has to be done to any of the vehicles for regular scheduled maintenance and things, that's $4,563. Communication repair and maintenance, that's an increase of $5,000. And that's due to added tower maintenance costs that we never have had to budget for. We are not going to be in contract with two-way communications because we have a new radio system that should be coming live at some part early this year. And that will be covered, most of that will be covered under the Motorola warranty. But there are a few items that we wanted to budget for that might come up that we know might not be covered. So it might be a certain connector or something like that. So $5,000 is what, we talked with the vendor and they said, if you could do this, it's an hourly charge. Normally it's like $100 an hour and they charge us for the parts and labor. So we feel comfortable with that. $10,000 for communication equipment, which is like your chairs, the AC unit that we have out in our shed, which hosts all the communications equipment. Any type of UPS or UPC that we might need, so power source, monitors, telephones, and then $5,000 for any type of mobile radio repairs. Again, because we're not in contract with two-way, so if we do have a breakdown in the radio, mobile radio is about $5,000. A portable radio is about $3,500, so that's what that would be covering. The copier and lease. I believe that's an increase this year. I can't remember if that's actually an increase or not. I believe it's an increase of $1,600 to accommodate the two commercial grade printer and fax scanners that we have at the office.
I have, can we just talk about that real quick? Because my copy and lease maintenance says it's an increase of 216.
How much?
216.
Is it 3504?
3720.
It was 35.
Yeah, it was 35.
Okay.
It was a more substantial lease last year. Or
Maybe
last year.
Okay, maybe that's where I got the number wrong. So again, it's a lease, so I don't I know that there's, what we pay for the toner and stuff that as part of this lease program and all that
That's
stuff.
not got the right numbers on my page.
I want to write that down too. So. So that's good. It's only an increase of $200 then versus what I had on my paper. Power rental fees. This is a significant increase. So this is one of the major increases that we have in my budget. It's an increase of about $67,200. That's for tower rental at these commercial sites. We did develop a new line so you could actually individually see what we're paying for each tower instead of having it lumped into like telecommunications and all. So the towers that you see up there, Prospect Mountain, Pinnacle Hill, Liberty Hill, Belknap Mountain, Gilman Hill, and Hemlock. The only ones that are government owned is the Belknap Mountain Tower, and we pay $1,000. Liberty Hill rental, we've had luck, paying short money for that at Liberty Hill, and that's our backup site, the Belknap Tower. So if Belknap Tower goes down, Liberty Hill is the one that really picks up that space. But you can see that there's been some significant increases, and that's due to our new equipment going from ground level to actually being on the tower and fix what's going on with the lack of communication. So some of the blackout sites that we have in and around the county with the new radio system and the new placement on the towers is going to fix all that. And again, it's public safety. So unfortunately, the commercial sites, we're held to whatever they want to try to charge us. I can tell you that through negotiations, and we've been working on negotiations for quite a while now, for several months, better part of last year. We started out at a lot of these sites at $7,000 a month for rental. And we've been able to get them down to $1,600 to $1,500 a month at most of the sites. And we're still working on some of the other tower sites because again, some of the contracts have come in, they haven't been signed yet, but I need to get those in front of the commission. But we're still trying to get the cost of the sites down even further. And a couple of the sites, again, we haven't received anything back yet. So that could be a savings. Yes.
How long do we have that contract price locked in for?
So that's the other thing too. They give us better rates if we go longer. I can tell you, I'd prefer to get a 15 or a 20-year contract on this if we can. So we're not dealing with what I'm dealing with today. So when the next sheriff gets in there, again, because 20 years from now, I won't be here. So somebody else will have to be dealing with that. And again, it's these people, they throw out prices however they want. And we're competing with AT&T and Verizon and all the commercial partners who are actually paying big money for that. So it makes it difficult. And I got to be honest with you, I don't have time to be wheeling and dealing contracts with people for cellular tower site spots for a 15-foot wave antenna. So we're trying to do what we can, and in a longer contract does equal better results. And normally there's a 3% escalator. So, and again, the commissioners will be the ones to actually have to make that determination whether or not they want to accept that or not, based on this amount of time.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it's in our best advantage to try and do 20-year contracts in telecommunications with the way it changes, the technology's changing and everything, especially with the new satellite stuff that are going up, that we might get locked into something that the technology is going to change and we won't use no more, and we'll still end up paying it for non-usage. So maybe sometimes being on the short side is a better deal than being on the long side. That's my opinion.
This is just for the rental of the hill, right? To use the hill.
Of the tower.
The tower space itself.
Yeah, but if we can run satellite, if we're required to go with the satellite and we're locked in for 20 years.
Well, the contracts can be developed that they can be, broken at any time or whatever. Like there's all kinds of opportunities in there. But again, what we're talking about with these companies, they throw out, a 20-year lease, and then we start, paring it down from there and talking about pricing. So I don't think that a yearly lease or even a 3-year lease is a good idea for us. Because this is what we're into right now. We're operating on, basically month-to-month leasing right now. And, we come up with this. So, how much change is gonna be for tower space? Well, you do talk about satellite and stuff like that, but I can tell you that with, emergency service electronics, you're not gonna find that in, it's hard enough to have repeater, time for connectivity. That satellite is probably not gonna be an option for local law enforcement or fire service to be doing our business.
We can just look at those contracts and make sure there's a out clause.
It'd be nice if there's an out. If there isn't an out, I would think that we'd go somewhere in the middle. 10, 15 max or something.
Yeah, so I mean, even if we can get,
Technology's going crazy.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think that the minimum we want to do is at least a 5-year lease.
Yeah.
But they start off with a 20-year lease or what have you, and they, we start paring it down from there. So, but again, we're still in negotiations and that's an ongoing thing. And, it'll be up to the commissioners to make that determination and, how much they want to commit on that. So.
It's on them.
Yeah.
Property liability, that's been an increase of about 7,300. Again, that's due to circumstances beyond the county's control.
Yeah, I have different increase.
What's that?
I have a $4,000. increase.
4,893.
So I just want to make sure we all.
Which number, what do you?
It's probably, I was looking at actual.
Yeah,
probably
okay.
of 2022. It's
I know, I have the
probably-
same as you, I just have a different increase than what he just said, but
Oh,
I have the
okay.
same as you.
Okay,
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page still.
yeah.
So so the registry of deeds, we have that at 500. There are certain things that we have to record by law with registry of deeds. Last year, I don't believe we actually had anything that we had to record that was required, but I asked for that to be level funded because we never know what's gonna come through the door. Grants program. That was a line that we had nothing in it last year. I'm asking for $14,601.94 to be added. The reasoning behind that is we have applied for a 2024 New Hampshire Highway Safety Grant, which is a 75-25 match. This is, we're asking for 6 mobile data terminals and upfit for 6 of the cruisers. These mobile data terminals will also be utilized inside our office as part of the IT infrastructure, if you will, instead of us having all desktops.
Can I get that number again, because we don't have
Yep.
it in our line?
It's $14,601.94. And that's the 25, that is, so that's the 25% match for that grant. And the total grant is so the total expense of the grant is $44,557.76. The reimbursement by the New Hampshire Highway Safety is going to be $29,955.82, which then makes us the 25% match is the $14,601.94.
Now, are we liable to pay the 49 and then we get reimbursed?
Yes.
We get the budget for the 49, don't we? No, we don't have to.
No, we just have to do budget for our match. And this, the 75% will go in, we call it the unbudgeted grant fund. It's basically a receivable account. So we'll pay it and then they will reimburse. it.
Okay. So
And just what, oh, can I interrupt you
Yeah,
here? Just had a thought, in thinking about this. I would recommend that you put this $14,602 in the IT budget, which is where we would ordinarily budget for our computer replacements, rather than putting it in the sheriff's budget. Because it will not happen again in the sheriff's department, it'll be a one-time thing, but it actually is an IT cost, it's solid IT. So I'm not gonna, make any compassion plea over it if you don't wanna do it, but it makes probably more sense to put it in IT rather than the sheriff's department.
So for me, I don't care where it comes from. It's a grant. Now, I have asked for permission to apply for the grant, and this was in 2023. I have not presented I mean, I've made notification to the county administrator that the grant, we've been accepted for the grant, but I have not presented it to the commissioners yet because I want to make sure that we have the 25% funding part of it actually funded, especially coming into a new year. So,
I have no issue about where it's placed. I just want to make sure that it's easiest for you guys for budgeting reasons and we keep track of it somewhere. So when we do get to IT, we remember that it has to be in there.
I
Yeah.
think we should move that to IT. This makes more sense to me.
Yeah, if not for the
Take it out
grant,
of the
that's
shelves.
where you'd be paying, that's where we would be paying, buying that anyway.
Let's take that out of the bottom number for now. Everybody
It's
agree?
not in
It's not
there.
even in there. Yeah.
I
Well,
can
yeah,
add it in,
yeah.
I'm just taking it.
Oh,
back
all
into
right,
it.
you guys,
So we're gonna have to remember to,
I'm gonna put it
Just
in.
make a note of that somewhere for us.
Took a note on that so we can take care of it.
So the mobile, like data, you said.
they're mobile data terminals, so we can, we're going to e-ticket.
Yeah.
So we can, any tickets that we write, we can print them right from our cruiser, right on the side of the road. We can submit crash reports, and then do all of our work product. You can get calls for service. So anytime that something's going on, it'll populate into your computer system. You can see all the county units, anybody that's being dispatched for us on there, as well as when we go to the aware. So if I'm in Laconia and I'm driving around, I can see a little screen that tells me all the calls that Laconia PD has, whether they're gone to or they're pending. I mean, we all live all over the place in the county and we're all traveling in, so it's a perfect opportunity, and they're all on different dispatches. So if I'm driving by, I'll see, oh, this is domestic at this location, I can switch over to the channel and help them out. So it's a good program. We already have 4 of them right now plugged into our cars. We're a little bit behind the 8 ball. It just has never been a priority of the agency. So we have these grant opportunities now. So at 75%, that's funded, through the New Hampshire Highway Safety, and 25% for us. I think it's a good opportunity for us to get this equipment.
Okay.
Not to mention that as our computers continue to age within the county, I think it's a good idea for us to replace them with the mobile data terminals. Because again, we can use them as desktops with the docking stations and all that. So it's kind of a do use thing.
So it's a big deal.
I think it's a really good opportunity for us to be technologically advanced.
Okay.
And we have personnel that will actually use it. So that's why we're pushing for it now.
Okay.
Anything else on that? Printing, I've asked for that to be level funded. Using subscriptions, I've asked that to be level funded. We belong to iacp.net, which again is it's a good platform for us to go into and get policies and procedures and just different things that are going on across the country. I have access to that at my fingertips. NESPIN, which is New England State Police Information Network. Again, we have equipment that we have available to us and database access. FBI LEADA, that is the leadership program that FBI LEADA has in place. All of our supervisors are attending the FBI LEADA schools, which are top-notch educational programs. New Hampshire Sheriff's Association, I belong to that, as well as the chief deputy. We have one employee that right now we have Rotary, and what we do is we get training. We actually get training through Rotary. The New Hampshire Chiefs Association and the actual IACP. So those are the associations, dues and subscriptions that we belong to. General operating supplies, I've asked for that to be continued at level funding. Advertising, level funding. Training, level funding. Right now, we have 21 deputies, 15 bailiffs, 14 dispatchers, and 2 admin staff. So $10,000 this past year was a decent monetary wise for classes that we attend. And again, we attend some professional classes. And as Representative Bean reminded me last budget cycle, we didn't go to any conferences down in Florida and have any parties or anything like that. So everything that we did were professional classes within the New England area. So uniform allowance, level funded, that is a contractual obligation. Uniforms, $10,000, which is level funding, same as last year. If you look at the expense this year, it was actually a little more. Again, that was part of employee turnover. So a $10,000 budget is more of a maintenance budget and keeping our people squared away with their uniforms. Where this year, again, this past year, we spent over a little because we had to buy new uniforms for everything. So 10,000, I believe, will be a good place. Investigative supplies, level funded at 500. Safety, ammunition, and supplies, level funded at 6,600. That takes care of all of our ammunition and the safety supplies that we have, tourniquets and targets and OC spray and staples and everything that we need for basically everything that's on our gun belt. A new line that we created this year was travel, and that's for any travel expenses that's actually associated with a job function here, so we can actually track what it costs us to do traveling. And that would be, again, for trainings and different costs that are associated specific to employees. Extraditions, level fund the extradition line. Right now, we currently have one prisoner in Virginia, one in New Jersey, and one in Florida. And that's just the ones that we know are on hold right now, waiting for us to do our function.
Can I do a ride along Florida, please?
Only if you ride in the back of the van. Take the van. But level funding that I think is good. And we do get some, we do submit for restitution. So if we have to go somewhere, we ask the county attorney to put restitution on as part of the charge, as part of the negotiated stipulations. And sometimes we get money back. Sometimes we got to chase them down, and sometimes we write it off. But for the most part, we're trying to recoup whatever it costs us to go to a different state to pick these people up. Anything in New England states, we basically eat, with the exceptions of lunch. So they get lunch. Office supplies, I've asked for it to remain at current funding. Public relations line, level funded. Postage, I've asked for a $300 increase. Yeah, $300 increase. Again, we're doing more business, so we need more postage. Gasoline and diesel fuel, level fund. Vehicle maintenance and repair, I've asked for that to be level funded. Again, we still do have a few older vehicles, but for the most part, our fleet is pretty healthy right now. Books, periodicals, journals, I've asked for that to be level funded. So, yeah, okay. New equipment, I've asked for that actually to be decreased by $1,000. And that's just because we purchased a bunch of things last year that we did not need to repurchase this year. Vehicle lease line, that is actually an increase of 25,000. That's we're gonna do the second payment of the 3-year lease on the 22 car, a second payment on a 3-year lease of the 22 car, and then the anticipation is 2 new vehicles this year to replace 2 of the 2015 Explorers that we have, and that'll be the phase out of the 2015s we still have on site, and that was 44,000.
Only thing you skipped over was the IT equipment.
All right, I guess.
Is this the line where we changed?
Oh, that's Exacom. Okay, I didn't have that one on my paper. So the Exacom system is our recording device for all of our radio transmissions and our telephone calls that happen into the dispatch center and out of the dispatch center. And that is due for replacement this year. It's end of life cycle. It's basically, if you will, Windows 7, time to replace this thing. So they gave us a total of 15,100. Now that's through Exacom. I have not put it out to RFP or anything else. I figured for budgetary processes, we would use Exacom because that's the system that I think we've used for almost, for at least the entire time I've been here.
So in regard to that, Windows 7 isn't even
Supported.
Yeah, it's not supported by Microsoft anymore. They're actually starting to throw out other operating systems now too. So it's definitely time to get rid of that because if there is an issue, it's not supported.
So we're just at that end of life and they're telling us that there's no rebuild. It's end of life. It's time to get a new one. you know, again, we can research, as we go along, you know, any other companies that, you know, are out there that want to, push a bid on it, then we can most certainly do that. Yes,
These cruisers,
yes.
my memory might be all messed up. I thought that we got money to pay for these cruisers in full in the last budget.
So the ARPA cars were paid off.
So these are,
So we did, like I tried to do a 2-year cruiser, replacement, you know, every year, come in to ask for 2 new cars. So at the end of 6 years, we're retiring 2 cars. And last year, 1 car was purchased on ARPA and 1 car was purchased on lease. Is how it was.
so that's one of these payments here.
Yes. So one of the 22s is that, and it says 22 is because we bought a leftover. We saved $18,000 and bought 2 leftovers last year versus 23s, which would have cost us more money. So they're brand new cars. So that's why I listed them as, instead of saying 22s, I listed them as individual on here.
If I remember correctly, my first year here, you were behind on replacing your vehicles, correct?
Yeah, I think we were 6 cars behind. So
Something like that.
like we got to a habit of purchasing like 4, and it's pre me being sheriff, but we buy 4 new cars 1 year and then we go 3 years without cars and it just messed up the cycle. So like I retired my 2014 Taurus, which again, good running car, just patrol wise, it's time to retire. I just retired that last month. So I put my car finally in service and it's one of the new cars. So I got, I can't remember if mine's the ARPA car or the chief deputy's was the ARPA car, but one of them's the ARPA car and one of them is the lease car.
I just wanted to refresh my memory of exactly how that worked though.
Yeah, at least
Thank you
this
very
way the budget's not doing one of these,
Yeah,
buying 4,
no.
not buying any, buying 4. not buying any.
Ultimately, what we're trying to do is when 2 cars get paid off, so every year we should have 2 cars that get paid off. Once we get into the right cycle, which that's what we're trying to get to, every year 2 cars will come off lease and 2 new cars will go on lease. So in other words, we'll drive, so that'll be 3 years per car that's on lease. And we buy 2 cars, right? So per year. So we'll enjoy that car for 3 years without no payments to it. It's kind of the idea. But we're just going to continue to rotate. So every year I can come before you and say, I want to basically keep the line the same. 2 cars coming off lease, and we'd like to get 2 new cars.
So it's kind of like a budget.
That's the idea.
I was looking at that question.
But that's the idea behind it. Again, we're still trying to catch up and just do it the right way. 1 year we got 3 cars because we bought 2 by ARPA and 1 by lease. So now we got 1 year that we had 3 cars. And keeping everybody in mind that even though the year isn't what I'm mostly concerned with, because I think we have 5 cruisers now that are 22s, but 2 of them were purchased in 23. So really they could be considered 23s. They're not. So it's keeping that in line. And luckily we have a good tracking system now through IMC that we're able to record all that when we purchased them, what we purchased them for, all the maintenance records and everything else. We're actually keeping up with it.
All right, so discussion on what we just went over. Any specific line items you want to look at or any?
IT equipment?
IT equipment, no, you're gonna put that IT equipment into
No,
a,
he's not with the line. He
Oh.
just went over the Exicom.
oh, okay, sorry.
He just went over that. Did you not hear him?
Yes, I heard that. And I was just curious, that's not the line item people wanted to, Deb wanted to put that in?
No. She wanted to put it in IT services or another.
No,
In
she,
the IT
like,
budget.
you're talking about the IMC grant. He's thinking of the IMC grant that's getting moved to the IT department. This is for Exicom, which is a different item.
I'm good.
So in regards to the Exicom, I mean, that's a necessity in my view. You can't be running a Windows 2007 operating system in 2024. And if something goes south with that, they're not gonna help you in any way, shape or form. So that is an expensive necessity, but a necessity.
Is, so for new equipment, the desks and chairs, it's 3,000, is that pretty, is that higher than normal or is that about?
No, so last year, I just went based on what we did last year.
Mhm.
So, desks, they range between 800 and 1,200, depending on what we get. We're trying to standardize, try to get more consistency throughout the agency.
Mhm.
So we're starting to replace some of the desks. I mean, we've had some pretty ratty furniture. A lot of it came, White Farm or like when other wings got, redone, we inherited it. So we're just trying to get the office to be a little more professional, a little more consistent. So it ranges, like we bought chairs, so, we bought a bunch of chairs this past year.
Yeah.
So traditionally, what would happen is the dispatch chairs, once they got used enough, they would get transferred over to the deputies.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, we need to really start buying our people new chairs. So they have their own desk in their own office, they need to have their own chairs. So, we took $150 or $170 and purchased chairs per deputy, for as many as we could do this past year. So there's, our lunchroom, we really need new chairs in our lunchroom. We could use a new table in our lunchroom.
Mhm.
We have a couple desks that really need to be replaced. The desk drawers aren't working, functioning appropriately and all that, so $3,000 is a conservative. It's actually kind of a low amount. But again, I'm trying to do it over time, so.
Well, I'm looking at this bottom line here. An increase of $187,000. That's a lot of money. I'm trying to find out, I see that.
Yeah, I can give you 2 lines right now that are,
100 grand is on the insurance.
yep, it's actually, I think it's just over 100 grand. I think it's like 120 is on the insurance line. And then you have, the 70,000 in the, rental space for the towers. Those are your two major lines that have the significant increase.
So you're saying you have 2 lines that we could do something with, or no?
Health insurance is,
No,
doing that,
yeah,
and contracts are for the.
The only one that I'm looking at that we might be able to change might be the software. So we're here to try to find a way to save some money and still do the job.
Sure.
I think you know me well enough to know that. And do it correctly. I don't want to do anything haphazardly. But I would like to see if we can find a place here
So the software.
where you could give a little bit, if you think. You probably have a better idea which you might be able to give up a little bit,
So that would
make the
be,
taxpayers happier.
Big increase.
I think that we got caught up last year. We kind of got caught up on all the things that were not going as smoothly as they should have. And we just want to keep our belt tightened up, not like it was before, just to normal. I don't know if we can find anything here that we can.
So the
reduce.
software support you brought up, I'm looking at, these are all contracted numbers. Backup new separate network. CAS.
you said the increase for that was the IMC, right?
IMC was a $10,000 increase.
Out of 20, so.
Yeah, that's a hard line. I don't think we can do anything with that line.
So, well,
It's a 66% increase is what I was looking at it.
Yep, and I also take into account the $23,000 that we're saving the local municipalities. That's why we're as county, we're absorbing that so we
Yeah,
can
you
get better
did say that.
productivity.
So it's costing a little bit more for the county, but the town is saving 3 times that much.
Yes,
So something else can we look at under special operations team? If you looked at the pistol and rifle ammunition, it's 19,000 or 20,000. I'm just gonna round it, 20 grand. And then under your other ammo, under training, I guess it is, it was like, I gotta relocate that one. It was like 6,000.
yeah, so
There's such a large difference between the two different ammos.
the difference is between a SWAT team going and shooting once a month, every month, because they're a SWAT team and they have 27 members. And the sheriff's employees who shoot two times a year to maintain the certification.
And we
So
paid,
But
but we paid the full amount of ammo for the special operations team.
yes,
We cover everything for special.
so the county is the only funding mechanism
Yeah.
for the regional SWAT team, which is made up of almost every town in Belknap County.
I just hate, I mean, especially the way things are today.
And as a matter of fact, like 20 of them showed up to that call out 2 days ago for the homicide scene, the homicide that happened, or the shooting scene that happened in Pittsfield. The person lived in Gilmington and the SWAT team responding to that.
That's where they all were going. I saw.
So those are like, I will continue to argue that the $30,000 budget for the SWAT team is very conservative for a SWAT team.
Yeah.
Especially a regional team that encompasses the entire Belknap County. And they also support other teams as well. So not one team can self-sustain a large incident. So 30,000 is a very insignificant amount of money for what they do and the liabilities that they incur.
The 30 grand could represent a law enforcement officer's life.
I mean, I
What
remember
person's
that
life?
there was that.
You know, again, guys get specialty training, and again, they shoot a lot, and they do that because they're supposed to.
I mean, in the schools, I mean, that would be the people that are
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
to school then.
I can't, I personally, I can't be touched.
If we were ever to have a school shooting in America, that's.
Save a lot of.
You would have 27
And we cut their ammo so they can't.
and at least like, I mean, they would be the first ones to be there, like other than the local police. I mean, really the only thing that I see on there that is halfway. It just, I mean, I hate even using the word discretionary is the desks and equipment, but we're not gonna do anything material. That's, I mean, that's the only thing that. I just don't even know if it's worth it at that point, you know, for what you described, yeah.
So we're not gonna vote on this anyway. That'll give us a chance to think this over a little bit more. I don't think it's gonna do any good.
Yeah, I think we're kind of,
We can ponder how much we have to do and then just agree.
Well, I think also we should, you know, maybe, and this might be more of a group discussion, is maybe we put, this is what we're thinking, you know, kind of do the highlights of what we discussed today and put it out to the other members of the delegation for their input before we get to the meeting.
That's illegal.
So they get.
That's
It's gonna be
illegal. 91A violation.
It's gonna be a posted meeting.
So a few things to also consider is, and I know it's never talked about because of gross budgeting processes, but when you have things like our court security, where we've had an increase, we also have that increase in revenue that comes in to offset that. So even though you're seeing an increase, the revenue side is also an increase. And you'll see that my revenue is budgeted right now at, I think it's like $534,636, which is significantly higher than it was this past year, as it was budgeted as well. So there are some offsets to this, that it's not all about an increase in expense. $8,000 is what I asked for a grant. That's a net zero, but that's $8,000 that shows an expense in my budget. But we have revenue source because it's completely paid for by the grant funding. So those are little things that I think that really cannot get lost in translation, that even though the budget is up, there's still money that offsets that. And that we're being, if you look at apples for apples, and what we're doing with our budgeting right now, this increase is very insignificant as it relates to the technologies and the things that we're doing now. Again, a big hit, insurance. I have zero control over that. And I have some really professional people. They deserve those benefits. And it's also part of what got them here to work for us, is the good benefits. So we have to pay for that. Yes.
so overall, it's a 6% increase. I know we're gonna go over it in a few minutes, the revenue, but what percentage is the revenue up?
So that I don't know. I'm not a percentage guy. So
Yeah.
Jim, do you know that? I know he's a percentage guy.
It's 19.67%.
It's up.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
So that offsets
He
the,
budgeted last year 446,000.
Yeah, that helps.
And I can tell you that, so the current staffing that I have, they've increased our self-initiated staffing, self-initiated activities by 44% compared to the same time last year.
Yeah, that's.
So I have a rock star crew and they're out working and again,
We've all seen it.
little things like the highway safety, that's out going out, stopping cars and doing all that. And that's specific times and it's additional to their normal duties. So it's not cutting into their normal duties. Those are little benefits that we want to give our employees because it gives them a little extra cash. And it gets our name out there and they're doing things that are productive that they enjoy doing. So again, net zero, but it's $8,000 added to my expense.
So I have a question for Deb on that. Why do we have to budget for the 8,000 for that, but not the other grant for the IMC computers?
I don't know. I have to look at those grants and
That's just what threw me off. I'm like, why wouldn't we have to budget the whole thing for the IMC? Just the food for
it's a
thought.
good, you know, it's a good idea to budget for it when we know about it. And we knew about this one early on.
Because they run on the October starting of their budget cycle. So it's actually like for us, we accepted the grant in 23 and it covered part of 23, but it runs through 24. So we spent some monies out of my overtime budget this year was spent on highway safety grant. So we have an injection of money that's coming in, but doesn't have that grant offset line. And it doesn't look like, it doesn't show my OT is different. So, but because we're already accepted the grant and this is not supplanting, so we can budget for it. And again, it would show, because I would like to, it's actually money that we have coming in that's net zero. So I want to keep it that way and use my overtime line for actual overtime that's sheriff office related.
Yep, Representative Bean.
So am I to assume that these, January 31st, when we have the final review, all of the department heads are gonna be here? In case we have a question, because that's when we're gonna vote.
They can be.
Yeah.
If that's when we're gonna vote,
I think.
I
that's
think
a
we
good
have
idea.
a follow-up or can you politely go over the revenue so we can get that up to date?
okay, I just want to make sure that.
You okay, Representative Bogert? You're a little quiet over there.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay.
All right, so again, grants, we're budgeting for 8,000 for the expense, and we're budgeting for 8,000 for the reimbursement of that line. Sheriff's fees, 80,000, I thought was a decent place to be. I don't want to overinflate the numbers, but this year, I don't know what we have do we have an actual projection?
85,000.
85. Yeah, so this year, again, we have been serving a ton of paperwork and we've been collecting a lot of fees too, the fees that are associated with it. That in the past, I'm not so sure that the fees were chased. We're making sure that we're chasing fees. So we're getting more revenue on that. But 80,000 was an increase compared to previous years budgeted. And I felt comfortable with that. Court security, again, if you look at what we had budgeted, 266,000, and now this year, we can budget for 337,000. So it's a significant increase.
Just want to look for a second at the court security expense line. That 444,860. So I would guess you must be able to increase this number.
Will we pay, do we pay more?
Yeah, we
than
pay
what's
some.
We
required?
pay $28.42 a person per day.
And we do.
If we received 440,000 this year, and we're gonna have a full year at those new rates next year, it has to make sense that we would at least take in that much next year.
I would probably say that's pretty consistent. Yeah.
And that would make a big difference on your bottom line.
Yeah.
Well, what's the root? Isn't that formula? Like, shouldn't we be able to know?
You should, but I think there's different, I don't know. I mean, just intuitively, it makes
Yeah, I
sense.
know. And it does make sense. I'm just
Make
thinking
more
we
money
should
next
know
year.
exactly because it's formula. That's how it's cost.
I'm not sure, the 43 shifts an average per week is a rough estimate, and I think is actually gotta be more than that at this point.
No, I think it's pretty consistent
Is
with
it?
that right now.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
But I know if you increased this by, $100,000, that would go a long way on the bottom line,
So bring it to 444.
or even 440, just
440,
make
I
it
meant, not
equal to
440.
what.
Yeah. Dyslexia, I said one word for.
Another thing too, we have a rock star administrative assistant who is all over getting the billing out and getting everything done like immediate. So as soon as that month ends, she's instantly submitting that stuff and we're getting returns back a lot quicker.
Are you comfortable with that 440?
I am, because this year was, again, at the first part of the year, it wasn't full throttle, but we're running a, 2-3 judges a day. Our staffing is up to snuff. I mean, we're fully staffed down there, so I think everything's being managed accordingly, and I feel pretty confident with that.
So new bottom line for revenue is 637,000.
You should look at the outside detail number.
Oh, no, I was just trying to say, make sure I'm on the right number right now.
637, yes.
Okay.
What was that again?
637,000
Even?
even.
And where was the change?
Court security was changed to 440,000
Even?
even.
And then the outside detail. So I know that the rates changed that we're billing out, and I'm not so sure that that's what's factored in there. So I think it changed by a couple dollars and then whatever the change for the cruiser. I don't
I
remember.
think you're right, that because on the same exact theory, this year we spent the same amount, we had the same amount budgeted as last year. And you took in $77,623 with the rate increase going into effect halfway or somewhere during the year. Now you're gonna have a full year of that rate increase. It seems like you'd be able to collect 75,000.
I would agree with that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'd be okay with putting it that then.
Put 75,000 there.
And that's the difference when these numbers, the commissioners look at these numbers in October, so. You need the benefit of a lot more information now.
And then dispatch services, I did raise the dispatch services, which is specific to the contract with Northfield PD. We went up 10% on that this year, and I just plan on keeping it at, I did not plan on increasing that this year. 10% was a pretty decent hit, I guess, but it had been several years since there was any increase, so. And I go based on the recommendation of the commissioners when we start talking about that, because technically they're the ones that are contracting with outside help.
647,000.
Yeah.
647.
Yeah.
Representative Bean, that's about a 200 increase in revenue.
I see that. So that's $11,000 to the good. Somewhere near there.
It's an increase of 44.82% from last year, so.
Just have to explain it to some other people.
And I'm still gonna try to work on the contracts for the tower sites. So there could be some savings there. And as soon as I get information, I'll be more than happy to share it. I'm always waiting on these companies to get back to me. Unfortunately, I'm on there.
I'm not doubting your numbers. I just need an explanation. So if I'm questioned, I've got an answer.
Sure, but I'm also want to develop a conservative budget. So, again, what we need for operations is what I'm looking for. So, no different than, as I told you last year and the year prior, monies that we don't use, we give back.
Absolutely.
And this year's, give back was pretty significant. So, or at least projected, what I know is projected. So,
Any other questions?
The only thing I would say, I was gonna go back to the towers, is the fact that I know people are doubtful about these satellites and stuff. But I know this month or next month, US Cellular is gonna go on to having satellite to cell phone functionality. And it's not gonna take long for that to vastly improve. So, 5-year contracts are probably good, but you start reaching out past there. Unless there's some opt-out options in those contracts, I'd be kind of curious because that technology is going to go through some grandiose changes for us. That's all I have to say.
So I looked at the Motorola Next radio system is what I really wanted to go to. It's a cellular-based radio system. It can work on cellular, it can work on conventional radio. The downside to it is subscription fees and cellular coverage and all the things that are associated with that, we really don't want to get into that business right now. It's too new.
Nope. I agree.
And our
It's
photography
expensive
here
at the moment. It's expensive at the moment. I'm just saying, let's be mindful of the future because as it comes online at first, it's going to be expensive. We don't want to be first in line, but then again, we don't want to get caught behind the 8 ball in the future with these extremely long contracts that keep us boxed into something of old technology. So that's all I'm saying is just in those contracts, just be mindful of that time.
I agree. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Any homework you want me to do between now and then?
Nothing I can think of.
Representative O'Hara will be reaching out to me at some point.
What?
The yearly, tell me about this.
Got nothing.
Commissioners, anything?
Good, Sheriff.
All right.
Everything is expected.
You're ahead of schedule right now.
So we can adjourn and come back next Wednesday.
Before you, yep. Matt, are you gonna have the minutes out before then?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have the minutes out.
It's pretty easy minutes, but that's one of the votes.
Yeah.
There was a change in your schedule. I don't know if so next week, you're gonna start with maintenance. And maintenance and corrections was swapped.
Yeah.
Just be here.
I'll just be here.
We're all.
All right, motion to adjourn second.